Hey everyone, on the topic of newsletter growth, I have spent 14 months full-time scaling my Substack newsletter called AI Supremacy to 20,000 in annual recurring revenue. And I want to talk about a little bit how I did it. So maybe you can potentially replicate some of the things I've done. I'm a big believer in LinkedIn as a way to send news subscribers to Substack that are pretty qualified and pretty able to pay to afford your Substack paid subscription, right? So I've been writing on LinkedIn for about 10 years. I joined their newsletter pilot many years ago. So being an early adopter, even if you started a Substack now, you would technically still be an early adopter because the product is just starting to take off. And a lot of my growth, I've been there for 14 months, a lot of my growth is actually in the last 3 months. So it begins to compound after you've significantly put in the time and the effort and the optimization. And why I like LinkedIn is because the audience is global and the click rate is relatively high. And the people tend to be older and higher up in their careers where they're able to support independent voices like me. I write about artificial intelligence and emerging technologies. So there's plenty of people on LinkedIn from a business perspective or just as an AI enthusiast who might be interested in my topic. So by having a LinkedIn newsletter, I'm able to create a call to action for them to join my Substack journey. And it's my Substack that's really like my home page as a newsletter creator, creating different tiers and different kinds of content that's viable for my paid audience as well as my free readers. So I want to show my screen and just share with you my LinkedIn experience because it has been like 10 years of hard work, right? So this is my newsletter on LinkedIn. It's called Artificial Intelligence Report. It has 211,000 followers, but I'm not able to access those people because I don't own my own list. So LinkedIn, while it's a great global network, it's not ownership economy optimized, right? As a creator, the only value is if I create a call to action and a few people every time, maybe click on the link, maybe they don't. And some of those will actually convert into paid subscribers. So it's really important to diversify your lead funnel on different sites like Twitter and LinkedIn and Reddit and so forth. I chose LinkedIn because it's more of the business crowd and the sort of topics that I write about are like more business oriented, like technology and startups and venture capital and AI and the trends behind them affecting these different industries. So I've been pouring 10 years of work in LinkedIn that sort of helped my acceleration of my Substack to 12,000 free readers and 20,000 in annual recurring revenue, which I'm pretty satisfied with at this point because I see the growth continuing. And because it's a paid subscription model, it can scale relatively well. So I don't have to change anything. I don't have to rush to find advertisers. I don't have to worry too much about creating more diversified streams of revenue if I'm seeing that the paid subscription model is starting to work. And one of the reasons it's actually started to work is because I went into my Substack settings and I turned on Substack Boost. So Substack Boost is working on conversion optimization and helping the churn reduction. So if someone's about to leave, they'll give them a discount and they'll perhaps stay for longer, right? So you're giving readers a certain experience, certain immersion into your topic, and they might only support you for a while. But from what I see from my data in Stripe, the value of your average paying subscriber is relatively high on Substack. So it's about finding your 1,000 true fans, and then you will be able to make a pretty decent living. Let's say you're charging $10, so 1,000 true fans would be a pretty good salary of $100,000. So all this to say that I've been writing on LinkedIn, I create posts, I create a lot of polls. My posts don't even perform that well, but because my newsletter has a lot of followers, I'm able to tap into the global audience that is LinkedIn, which is many millions. It might be in the area of 600 to 800 million right now of total users. Of course, far less of those are actually monthly active users. So that's my LinkedIn experience. Because the click rate's pretty high, I'm able to generate, let's say, 5 to 15 free readers a day from my LinkedIn efforts. And why this is important, it enables me to barter that value with other creators on Substack in my niche who I can barter that value for their readers. So there's a peer economy exchange with the recommendations and the writer referrals. And that's what's making all the difference in my year 2 on Substack. So here's my Substack, and I'm just going to go into my recommendations and just show you how this starts to scale. So lately I have 78 different newsletters recommending me. So this is a little bit of a mini game. I'm trying to send people as many new readers as they send me. Of course, trying not to upset them in the process. And I do upset them in the process because sometimes I have to stop them to let others catch up, right? So how do you do this? If they're only supporting 2 or 5 people and I'm supporting 20 people, it gets to be a little bit difficult. The point being is it's a win-win mentality. You want to share your success with others. You want the whole ecosystem to grow. So as you can see, I have supporters like FinTech Blueprint. They've almost sent me 500 new readers. Imagine that. The Abbey of Misrule, almost at 300. The Refactoring, oh my God, he's already sent me 241. I've only sent him 164. So hence I have to stop some of the others and wait for my lead gen, mostly from LinkedIn and Google, to catch up. So this is like a mini game within Substack that I take very seriously. I call it the peer recommendation economy. And I'm also trying to get writer referrals. So I've probably gotten in the area of 35 to 40 new Substack newsletters who have directly come as a result of my link. And that means that they're also tethered to my account. They're recommending me by default, and I'm trying to support them and help them grow. I'm having Zoom calls with them. I'm giving them tips. I'm giving them tips that I didn't have in my first year, trying to grow the whole economy in the technology sector, because on Substack, it's a little bit underserved. So in that sense, I'm a pioneer of the technology category in Substack. And the reason I know this is because I looked at the category recently. For paid subscriptions, my 20,000 annual recurring revenue is in the top 50 in technology. So no wonder I was thinking, why don't they have more categories like entrepreneurship, startups, machine learning, and so forth, data engineering, and so many others. And the reason being, there's just simply not enough technology writers on Substack who are really hitting this hard. So there's a huge opportunity. It's still really early in the game. If you write about products, startups, technology, big tech, AI, anything like that, entrepreneurship, no code, I mean, the list just goes on. I have another newsletter in quantum computing, and I'm one of the only ones on all of Substack that writes about quantum computing. So the potential here is limitless for ambitious technology writers. So whether you are on Medium or on Beehive, try out Substack in the technology sector, and you might be growing like I am. And really, Twitter and LinkedIn are the 2 main ones that you want to be optimizing. Twitter will give you more reach and interesting conversations, but LinkedIn will actually convert better in terms of free readers and paid subscribers. So let me just go now into my subscribers and to show you that this is indeed true. So I'm verging on 12,000 free readers, and this number is actually not true. It's a lot of comps that I've given away to people in developing countries. So my actual paid revenue, here we are. I have about 228 paid subscribers, and I've just recently crossed the 20,000 in annual recurring revenue. And guys, this is going up pretty fast. I mean, look at the last 30 days. Look at the last 30 days. So in January, I was only making 14,000. And now in February, I'm already making 20,000. So this means that soon I'll be able to afford a design upgrade for my newsletter. I'll be able to afford a little bit of paid ads, experimentation, trying to lower the cost of acquisition for new free readers, and trying to work more on conversion optimization because my conversion rate is just so terrible. Currently, I'm only offering more content for my paid subscribers, where I could be offering a webinar, a podcast, and so much more potentially. So it's all depending upon your bandwidth as a writer, how much you want to put into this. I decided that I really wanted to go full time. And now I'm talking about Substack and talking about LinkedIn and Twitter for these new creators, for these new newsletters, because I see so much potential. not just in what I write about, but all these different kinds of newsletter creators. These book authors are learning that newsletters is the best way to create a one-to-one connection with their readers and with their audiences and find new audiences, right? So the pace at which all this is growing is really dependent upon these recommendations and these writer referrals. So I'm spending a lot of my time, instead of marketing on LinkedIn and Twitter, I'm actually talking to other creators on Twitter, on Discord, and in Twitter circles, and in LinkedIn groups, and in all these different places, trying to find the win-win for everyone, right? So you subscribe, you cold call people, you subscribe to their newsletters, you try and be fans, you try and support each other, and you try and be reciprocal, right? So if someone sends me 10 free new readers, I'm definitely going to want to return the favor, right? It's like a business interaction on a sense. And you literally feel bad if there's not some sort of equality, right? So you're really helping other people grow while they're helping you. And this sort of thing starts to take off. And then by having paid subscriptions implemented, Substack Boost is already doing a lot of the heavy lifting for you. So the 10% you're giving to Substack is actually really worth it. They aren't just hosting and doing customer service, they're now actually helping you accelerate your paid subscription revenue. And that's what's really happened to me. The product people at Substack, they're starting to optimize the way the whole ecosystem works. So my lead gen is pretty much automated at this point. I could do the LinkedIn or I could do without it. I don't have to worry about it. If I miss a few days, it's not a big deal. Twitter is just for fun. I'm not actually getting free readers from Twitter unless I'm doing a Twitter ad or some kind of a special campaign. The other day, I made a massive list on the Twitter account of my newsletter. I made a list of the top 95 newsletters in my field with their Twitter handle. And this campaign did incredible, and it definitely got me new followers on Twitter, not necessarily new followers on my newsletter. So starting a newsletter on LinkedIn might be a really good way because they actually click on the call to action. LinkedIn's click rate is universally higher than on Twitter. So just keep that in mind. So Reddit and Twitter, they might be good for the views, but you want channels where the click rate and the conversion rate actually makes sense to you. And you can begin to start to track this kind of stuff. Let me just show you my stats. So looking at my stats, what can you tell from this? Substack is generating most of my paid subscribers, but LinkedIn and Google are also really good. Twitter is getting better in my case because I spent a little bit of money. And by spend, I don't mean a big campaign. I think I spent 60 American dollars to boost a particular post. And if it got me 5 new paid subscribers, that's already paying for that ad. So think about it. If you can find the attribution of your ad, you can see this was nothing before. So this has to be an impact of what I've been doing recently. And the other thing is, since I've been writing for a year, I'm starting to trend on Google. And you see some of these people, the conversion rate from Google traffic here is very targeted. So of the 245 free subscribers, a lot of them have actually converted. So when you notice patterns like this, you realize what you're doing and what's working and what's not. So on Reddit, I'm getting a lot of traffic, but it's not really, in terms of monetization, it's not really useful. It is useful, however, to boost my SEO, which goes back to the Google. So everything you're doing is influencing something else. You kind of have to be a little bit mindful. I'm just at the beginning of this journey, but I'm already making $20,000 in annual recurring revenue, which is really enough to cover my costs here in Taiwan, my food, my lodging. It's not as expensive as in other parts of the world. So here I'm able to write about what I'm passionate about. At the same time, Substack has now covered my basic needs. So if I can be of use to other newsletter creators and be a brand advocate for Substack, I'm more than happy to do this. And really, I wouldn't have been able to generate this sort of revenue probably so quickly unless I hadn't invested a lot in LinkedIn. So the social media lead gen at the beginning really starts to matter and gives you something to barter for the recommendations, right? If someone thinks I'm not a good actor and they turn me off, that's their loss, right? Because I'm easily able to catch up in terms of the recommendations that they offered me. If I'm 5 behind them and they're like, bro, you turned me off, I'm sorry, I was having to boost someone else. And if they don't get that, that's their loss, right? So people are going to be turning you on and off, and you just can't take it personally. Obviously, you want traffic that's targeted, right? So you want people recommending your newsletter who are writing about the same thing. You don't want to be seeing them as competitors. You want to be seeing them as peers. And the faster these other people grow, they're sending me some of their free new readers. So I'm actually benefiting too. So it makes you think of the whole ecosystem very differently. You're not competing for attention on some lame, cringy algorithm. I mean, LinkedIn is super cringe, but it's still useful because it's that global audience. And these people are established in their careers. So it's definitely worth checking out. At least that's the strategy that I use to grow to 10,000 free readers. And what I've noticed is as Substack improves its Substack Boost and all these other things, the conversion optimization is even becoming a little bit more automated. So maybe you can customize things differently on your Beehive, but you don't have Substack Boost. So there's pros and cons to all these platforms. I'm in favor of Substack. Even in technology, I would say you're an early comer. So if you make an AI newsletter or something similar, something about startups or no code or generative AI or any of these topics, any of these niches within niches, there's endless possibilities with venture capital. You can charge more for your venture capital audience. Big tech analysis, there's a lot of competition. So you want a niche that really showcases your ability to write and showcases the interest that you have and the deep research you are doing. So Substack probably makes the majority of its revenue from political writers and investing in finance writers. So there's all these other categories that are relatively untapped, right? There's incredible culture writers. It's really competitive in the culture category. But in the business and the technology category, guys, there's so much opportunity. There's so much potential revenue that's just being left on the table. You look at Lenny and Gurgly, and they're making over $1 million just by being at the top of the business and technology category. And you can figure this out. And there's people that have done it. I recently read a newsletter where they break down the top 30 earners. And sure enough, Lenny and Gurgly are starting to get higher and higher on that list. And that's brand new, right? Before, technology and business writers weren't making the same kind of revenues that the political writers of Substack were making. So all these features like recommendation and Substack Boost, it's starting to equalize, it's starting to trickle down. It's not just like a pyramid scheme where the best get all the revenue. It's starting to trickle down to people like me that just started. I'm just 14 months into this. I mean, I can't believe that I'm making 20,000 in recurring revenue. I don't even charge that much, right? I recently upped my price from $8 to $9 a month, which in my categories of technology is relatively cheap. It's actually hard to find a technology writer that writes 4 times a week, charging $8 or $9 per month. So I'm trying to offer value to my audience because I don't have a podcast and I don't do webinars and I don't do these other things. I'm purely a writer. I'm not listing links and AI tools and other gimmicks, right? I'm trying to cover the news in my sector, and that's my value proposition. That's what works for me. And maybe my value would be increasing a lot more if I was doing all those other things. And all that is on the table too. It's just a question of my time and what I like to do. And I'm seeing growth on Substack, and it's really incredible because in the first 10 months, I wasn't sure that would happen. I was stagnating. Let's go back to my revenue, and I'll show you the real experience. The first 6 months, the first 10 months, it's not easy. Look at my all-time, okay? Look at my gross annual revenue and look at my all-time. I mean, look, I started full-time, I always say, in 25th of December. I was making $500 at that point. $500, guys. And then the first few months is relatively flat, right? Okay, I made 5K by April, 10K by relatively recently. I basically doubled my revenue. I've doubled my revenue since mid-November, guys. I've doubled my revenue. Oh my God, that is crazy. So let's say I double my revenue again and again. What does that mean? It means that there's so few technology writers that I'm already in 14 months among the best. Now, what does that mean? It doesn't mean I'm a great writer. I'm not conceited. I'm not arrogant. I know the quality of my writing could be better, right? I'm making typos. I'm not using AI tools. I don't even have Grammarly. I'm covering the news with my own speculations. So it's original, but it's not really that original. I'm not even that good, guys. I mean, if I can do it, you can do it, right? I mean, if I'm one of the better technology voices after 14 months, this is an open field. This is virgin territory. This is like anyone could write about AI or technology and probably do a lot better than me. I'm nobody special. Yes, I had that LinkedIn obsession for years and years of blogging and content marketing and freelancing, which served me well. But that platform is totally cringe. In the sense, this automated recommendation features on Substack, I could just leave Twitter and LinkedIn and not care about it, and I'd be fine. So I do it more for the social element, more for the creative element, more for being in touch with all these other peers that I'm actually recommending, that I'm actually interested in, right? Because I'm interested in their growth, because I want to grow along with them. And if I can support newsletters that are younger than me, I will. And if I can get patronage from a bigger influencer or creator, I definitely will, because the ROI is just off the charts. If someone who's an established author recommends you, it's literally thousands of dollars in the end that they're bringing you, and the customer lifetime value is just incredible, especially if it's targeted to your niche and they're very established. And a lot of the very established people are going to be the published authors. If they've written 6 or 9 really good machine learning books and they start a Substack, they immediately have 20,000 free subscribers. They have Twitter accounts of over 100,000 and so forth. So the whole peer economy here is much more interesting than the former algorithmic cringe economy of all these algorithmic channels that like I no longer use. I no longer use Instagram and even LinkedIn. It's mostly just my topics that I'm interested in, right? So I'm following people in quantum computing, following people in data science and data engineering and AI, because there's a lot of thought leadership there. So there's various motives and reasons why we might be doing what we're doing. But if you can create a Substack and have a one-to-one relationship with your audience where you're actually seeing that paid subs scale, and that paid subs are it's the easiest way to scale, right? So maybe my first 20,000, it was actually a lot of work to get to here. If I think of all the thousands of hours, the extra overtime, the weekends of writing, the writing sometimes 2-3 pieces a week on different newsletters. This is just this newsletter. I have other newsletters. The point being, if 20,000 annual recurring revenue, that's fine. But what happens if this keeps growing as it is? What happens if this hockey stick here, what happens if this keeps going? And by the end of the year, I'm making, 30 or 40K or whatever the case may be. I haven't projected this into the future, but I mean, it looks promising. It looks like a hockey stick, and it's like, you can break it down. You can look at your Stripe and you can see how fast you've grown in the last month. And if I projected that forward, I'd have enough to, hire that illustrator that I want who works in Scotland and do more paid ads and experiment more with growing faster, because I'm growing, I have traction. And it's all thanks to Substack, right? It's Substack Boost, and the whole technology stack that they've created is basically like a no-code paradise for a blogger like me, right? You've spent years trying to monetize online. You've barely scraped by. You've been a freelancer. You've been a content marketer. You've worked for startups that no longer exist. And it's a grind. It's really a journey, right? This is the last 15 years of my life of pivoting into marketing. I was a psych major, and what did I know about writing or technology or investing? I have an investing in stock market newsletter as well, right? So you sort of learn as you go, and obviously I'm not giving financial advice there, but the point being is you can grow to be a thought leader in your field simply by your sheer will to self-learn and research and share that thought leadership and grow in credibility and grow. I'm sure there's all kinds of futurists in the world who are far more educated than I am, far more insightful than I am. But we all contribute to the world in our own way. If I can make 20,000 in annual recurring revenue with this single AI newsletter, I wonder what else is possible on Substack in the technology category. So guys, I just wanted to share that overview, how I grew my newsletter in 14 months to 20,000 in annual recurring revenue. And I'm still sort of shocked by the growth in the last 2, 3 months. I have to be completely honest. I was barely growing 2, 3 months ago, and it sort of started to compound. And I got that hockey stick that I always wanted. And it's really thanks to the peer recommendations. So the more people who are recommending your newsletter, the more value you're able to barter to them, right? You're not just asking them for something. You're saying, look, I have all these new free subscribers I get from LinkedIn or elsewhere. And the difference between growing your free subscriber list 10 or 20 new people a day to 80 or 100 new people a day, that means you're almost getting more paid subscribers every day, even if your conversion rate is super low, like is mine. In technology, it's a lot harder to get conversion. And it all starts to scale. Even if you're a flawed writer and your business model is slightly flawed, you can still find a way. You can still cater to your strengths and utilize this peer recommendation economy and enjoy the process. And when I realized that I was in the top 50 in the technology category in paid subscription revenue, that blew me away, right? Because I had just grown there in the last couple of months. So if you grow higher on these discovery and these leaderboards, maybe more new people are going to be recommending your newsletter as one of the top in your category. I can say that I'm in the top 5 perhaps of AI newsletters on Substack after 14 months. And yes, it's like hundreds of articles. Like, who does that, right? There's no one else on Substack that writes like me, but maybe that's my superpower. Maybe that's the value proposition that I'm able to offer. So all kinds of readers, maybe they appreciate that I cover healthcare and biotech and big tech and research papers and startups and all these other things. I had to create more newsletters just to specialize more in robotics or quantum computing. Emerging tech is really my passion. So maybe there is product market fit. Maybe that's what I have to think. Maybe I'm not just a pioneer, I'm actually tapping into a growing audience, right? So there's more people from India who are looking into Substack. They're migrating away from Medium and LinkedIn, and they're coming to Substack because they realize when Stripe is enabled in India, they'll be able to make a pretty good living. Maybe they have a buddy in another country who can help them with the Stripe integration and send them the money without a commission. I'm hoping for them that happens, because there's a lot of countries that don't yet accept Stripe. And Stripe is the payment provider of Substack, and they take 3 to 6% of the revenue. I think it's totally worth it. I'm happy to make 84 cents on the dollar. Where else am I able to do that? So Substack and Beehive and Gumroad and all these platforms, they're so native to the creator economy, right? They're charging less than these big tech companies. And there'll be new companies in Web3 who will be charging even less. So this valuing the personal brand, it's only going to increase. And newsletters are everywhere. A lot of media companies have realized newsletters are so important in the paid subscription economy. And so independent voices are only going to flourish in this environment because the peer discovery is just so incredible. So you're getting free readers without effort simply by growing your newsletter and writing quality stuff. All the rest of stuff kind of takes care of itself. You can do other things to accelerate that, like I have with LinkedIn and my beginnings of Twitter ads, which I don't have a budget for, but I saw the ROI. Like, I just saw now that I have more paid subscribers from Twitter. That's brand new. So maybe my $60 on those Twitter ads on that list of 95 newsletters in my space I did, maybe that delivered more value than the ad. So it's not just the free subscribers I'm getting from these experiments, it's the new paid readers. And some of those monthly readers, maybe they try me out at the $8 or $9 I'm charging, and they say, oh, it's probably worth, paying 70 or 80 or whatever for the yearly, the discounted yearly, and then Stripe is charging me less, so it's better ROI. So in terms of customer lifetime value and the cost of the acquisition of the paid reader, I'm starting to think about these things, right? How do I lower the cost of attracting these free readers and these paid subscribers? And how do I get more value and offer them more value? First and foremost, I need to up my quality of my value proposition. I want to be offering them something real and tangible in my topic that they can get from me and perhaps no one else, right? So I'm thinking about all these things as I hit the 20,000 annual recurring revenue, and I'll report back to you what I find, but these are just some of my initial findings. I'm just starting out. I'm brand new. 14 months is nothing. I'm just seeing growth now, right? There are Substack people that a month or two ago, they were at 14,000, and now the guy has a tweet that he's at 40,000. So it's obviously not just me that's seeing this. It's the Substack recommendation engine. It's trickling down the pyramid. And it doesn't matter if you just started out, because in my category of technology, it's virgin territory. Think about that. It's probably the best virgin territory on Substack right now. If I made the top 50 in paid subscribers after 14 months, that tells you that there's a huge demand and a huge lack of supply of amazing technology writers. So get on that.